I think Anubhava Prabhu yesterday completed chapter 6 from the 8th canto. So we are starting chapter 7 of the 8th canto with the first verse. So I think we're going to recite the English all the way until text 17, and then we'll cover the verse.
Shukadeva Goswami said, "O best of the Kurus, Maharaj Parikshit, the demigods and demons summoned Vasuki kings of the serpent, requesting him to come and promising to give him a share of the nectar." Continue. They coiled Vasuki around Mandara mountain as a turning rope, and with great pleasure they endeavored to produce nectar by turning the ocean of milk.
The personality of Godhead, Ajita, grasped the front portion of the snake, and then the demigods followed.
The leaders of the demons thought it unwise to hold the tail, the inauspicious portion of the snake. Instead, they wanted to hold the front, which had been taken by the personality of Godhead and the demigods, because the portion was auspicious and glorious. Thus the demons, on the plea that they were all highly advanced students of Vedic knowledge and were all famous for their worth and activities, protested that they wanted to hold the front of the snake.
Text 4. Thus the demons remained silent, opposing the desire of the demigods. Seeing the demons and understanding their motive, the personality of Godhead smiled. Without discussion, he immediately accepted their proposal by grasping the tail of the snake, and the demigods followed him.
After this, addressing how the snake was to be held, the sons of Kashyapa, both demigods and demons, began their activities, desiring to get nectar by churning the ocean of milk.
O son of the Pandya dynasty, when Mandara mountain was thus being used as a turning rod in the ocean of milk, it had no support, and therefore, although held by the strong hand of the demigods and demons, it sank into the water.
Because the mountain had been sunk by strength of providence, the demigods and demons were disappointed, and their faces seemed to shrivel.
Seeing the situation that had been created by the will of Spring, the unlimitedly powerful Lord, whose determination is infallible, took the wonderful shape of the tortoise, entered the water, and lifted the great Mandara mountain.
When the demigods and demons saw the Mandara mountain had been lifted, they are enraged and encouraged to begin journey again. The mountain rested on the back of the great tortoise, which extended for 800,000 miles like a large island.
Text 10. O king, when the demigods and demons by the strength of their arms rotated Mahendra mountain on the back of the extraordinary tortoise, the tortoise accepted the rolling of the mountain as a means of scratching his body, and thus he felt a pleasing sensation.
Thereafter, Lord Vishnu entered demons as the quality of passion, demigods as the quality of goodness, the Vasuki as the quality of ignorance, to encourage them and increase their various types of strength and energy.
Manifesting himself with thousands of hands, and the Lord then appeared on the summit of Mandara mountain like another great mountain, and held Mandara mountain with one hand. In the upper planetary system, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, along with Indra, king of the heaven, and other demigods, offered prayer to the Lord and showered flowers upon him.
The demigods and demons worked almost madly for the nectar, encouraged by the Lord, who was above and below the mountain, and who had entered the demigods, the demons, Vasuki, and the mountain itself. Because of the strength of the demigods and demons, the ocean of milk was so powerfully agitated that all the alligators in the water were very much perturbed. Nonetheless, the churning of the ocean continued in this way.
Vasuki had thousands of eyes and mouths. From his mouth it breathed smoke and blazing fire, which affected the demons, headed by Pauloma, Kalia, Bali, and Ivala. Thus the demons, who appeared like saral trees burned by a forest fire, gradually became powerless.
Because the demigods were also affected by the blazing breath of Vasuki, their bodily lustrous diminished, and their garments, garlands, weapons, and faces were blackened by smoke. However, by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, clouds appeared on the sea, pouring torrents of rain and breeze blew, carrying particles of water from the sea waves to give the demigods relief.
When nightmare did not come from the ocean of bliss, despite so much endeavor by the best of the demigods and demons, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Ajita, personally began to churn the ocean.
The Lord appeared like a blackish cloud. He was dressed with yellow garments. His earrings shone on his ears like lightning, and his hair was spread over his shoulder. He wore a garland of flowers, and his eyes were pinkish. With his strong, glorious arms, which award fearlessness throughout the universe, he took hold of Vasuki and began churning the ocean, using Mandara mountain as a churning rod. When engaged in this way, the Lord appeared like a beautifully situated mountain named Indranila.
Wonderful, wonderful set of verses. Okay, so we'll go back to text 8. So we just do line by line?
Yeah, we recite the Sanskrit.
Yeah.
And then we go to
Sure. Villokya vignesha vidhim tateshvaro duranta viryo vitathat vishandihi kritva vapu kachapam adbhutam mahat Pravrishyatoyam girimujjahara Vilokya vignesha vidhim tadeshvaro Duranta viryo vitathat pisandihi Kritva vapu kachapam adbhutam mahat Pravrishyato-yam girimujjahara Vilokya vignesha vidhim tateshvaro Duranta viryo vitathat pisandihi Kritva vapu kachapam adbhutam mahat Pravrishyato-yam girimujjahara
Vilokya vignesha vidhim tadeshvaro
Vilokya vignesha vidhim tadeshvaro Duranta viryo vitathat visandihi
Kritva vapu kachapam adbhutam mahat
Kritva vapu kachapam adbhutam mahat Pravishyato-yam girimujjahara
Vilokya vignesha vidhim tadeshvaro
Vilokya vignesha vidhim tadeshvaro Duranta viryo vitathat visandihi Kritva vapu kachapam adbhutam mahat
Pravishyato-yam girimujjahara
Pravishyato-yam girimujjahara
Vilokya vignesha vidhim tadeshvaro
Vilokya vignesha vidhim tadeshvaro
Duranta viryo vitabhavi sandhi
Duranta viryo vitathat vishandihi
Kritva वपुकच्छपमद्भुतं महात्
कृत्वा वपुकच्छपमद्भुतं महात् प्रविश्यतोऽयं गिरिमुच्चहार
विलोक्य विघ्नेश विदिन्तदेश्वरो
विलोक्य विघ्नेश विदिन्तदेश्वरो
दुरन्तवीर्यो विततापि सन्धि
दुरन्तवीर्यो विदधाति सन्धिः
देव वपु गच्छम् अहम् अद्भुतं महत्
कृत्वा वपुकच्छपमद्भुतं महत्
कृत्वा प्रविश्य तोयां
प्रविश्यतोऽयं गिरिमुच्चहार
विलोक्य विघ्नेश विधिं तदेश्वरो.
Say it properly, the right tonation. The beginning of the letter. Vilokya Vignesha Vidantadeshvaro.
Vilokya Vignesha Vidintadeshvaro.
Durantaviryo vidatavi sandhihi.
Durantyaviryo vitathatvi sandhihi. Kritvātvapukacchapam mahat.
Pravishyatoyam girimucchahara.
Pravishyatoyam girimucchahara.
Vilokya Vignesha Vidhim Tadeshvaro.
Vilokya Vignesha Vidhim Tadeshvaro. Durantyaviryo vitathatvi sandhihi. Kritva vapukacchapamadbhutam mahat.
Pravishyatoyam girimujjahara.
Pravishyatoyam girimujjahara. Vilokya, observing. Vigna, the obstruction, the sinking of the mountain. Isha Vidhim, by the providential arrangement. Tada, then. Ishvara, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Duranta Viryaha, inconceivably powerful. Avittaha, infallible. Abhisandhihi, whose determination. Kritva, expanding. Vapu, body. Kachapam, tortoise. Adbhutam, wonderful. Mahat, very great. Pravishya, entering. Toyam, the water. Girim, the mountain. Mandara. Ujjahara, lifted. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Translation. Seeing the situation that had been created by the will of the Supreme, the unlimitedly powerful Lord, whose determination is infallible, took the wonderful shape of a tortoise, entered the water, and lifted the great Mandara mountain.
Here is evidence that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the supreme controller of everything. As we have previously described, there are two classes of men, the demons and the demigods, but neither of them are supremely powerful. Everyone has experienced that hindrances are imposed upon us by the supreme power. The demons regard these hindrances as mere accidents or chance, but devotees accept them to be acts of the supreme ruler. When faced with hindrances, therefore, devotees pray to the Lord, Tate nukampam susamikshmano bunjana evatma kritam vipakam. Devotees endure hindrances, accepting them to be caused by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and regarding them as benedictions. Demons, however, being unable to understand the Supreme Controller, regard such hindrances as accidental. Here, of course, the Supreme Personality of Godhead was present personally. It was by His will that they were hindrances, and by His will those hindrances were removed. The Lord appeared as a tortoise to support the great mountain. Shitir iha vipulatare tava tishtati prishte. The Lord held the great mountain on his back. Keshavadrita Gurva Sharira Jagadisha Re. Dangers can be created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they can also be removed by Him. This is known to devotees, but demons cannot understand it.
Jai. I'll just read the translation again. Seeing the situation that had been created by the will of the Supreme, the unlimitedly powerful Lord, whose determination is infallible, took the wonderful shape of a tortoise, entered the water, and lifted the great Mandara mountain. Thank you so much, dear devotees, for giving me this wonderful opportunity to speak on this wonderful pastime, which is actually, if we think about it, the appearance of one of the Lord's incarnations as Gurmadev. I would please like to ask for your blessings that I can say something that is of value to you, but also that is purifying for me. I would like to ask the blessings of His Holiness Bhakti Marg Swami, as well as Prabhu.
He said no.
He that did this, so I'm okay. So I'll get right into it. When I was reading this verse, I was thinking about how do I interpret this verse, and how can I sort of present this verse so that we can infuse a daily practice of sadhana bhakti in a very significant and meaningful manner. The traditional understanding of God, we know, is the remover of obstacles, right? Think about the obstacles that you're facing in your day-to-day life. When those obstacles or challenges come in your life, the way immediately your thought is, my dear Lord, please help me overcome this. So traditionally, we think of the Lord as someone who removes the obstacles, the challenges along the way. But this verse is actually, in a way, presenting a different side. Here he says, everyone has experienced that hindrances are imposed upon us by the supreme power. Devotees endure hindrances, accepting them to be caused by the Supreme Personality of Godhead and regarding them as benedictions. So this is interesting that traditionally we think of Krishna as God as removing hindrances, removing challenges from our life. But Srila Prabhupada here is presenting an additional idea, that the Lord is not only tasked or does not only remove hindrances from our life, but He actually places hindrances in our life. Now, Prabhupada in this purport then delineates the two. He says that the devotees take these hindrances, these challenges, these reversals in our lives as mercy of the Lord. And then demons, atheists in one sense, do not even regard, because they do not even believe in the presence of the Lord, any obstacle that comes is attributed to mere chance. But what if you're in the middle? As some of us may be, not all of us. But what if you're in the middle, in the sense that you recognize that reversals and obstacles have been placed in your life by Krishna, but you cannot yet see how this is a benediction. Think about the obstacles that are in your life. Most of you are students. I remember when I was a student, my biggest anxiety was that I would need to get a full-time job, right? Let alone a full-time. I wasn't even, at that time, I graduated in 2020 at the height of the pandemic. I couldn't even get a job part-time, in the field I wanted to anyways. I could practice, but yeah. So then you think, and then when you put in the applications, I remember I put in about 108 applications. Out of which you get maybe one interview, right? And you're like, Krishna, why are you doing this? So most of us in the middle, where we see that Krishna is placing some obstacles in our life, but we can't really see how they're acts of mercy, they're benediction. That can actually, if you think about it, when someone is faced with a great reversal, a great obstacle in their life, this can actually be a cause of anger, a cause of sadness, and sometimes it may even depart us from their faith if it's heavy enough. Yeah? So today, what we want to sort of uncover is that how do we begin our journey to move towards going from this idea where we may say that yes, this obstacle may come from Krishna, but then how do we move towards actually accepting that obstacle as mercy, as a benediction from Krishna to help us enhance our relationship? So that is going to be the crux of the talk today. Logically, one more point, it makes sense why that Krishna is the source of obstacles too. In the Govindamadi Purusham prayers that we sing in the morning, the prayers that we sing when we are greeting the deities, those prayers are known as Brahma Samhita. The first verse of the Brahma Samhita is what?
Ishvara Parama Krishna
Sachidananda Vigraha Anadiratir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. Sarva Karana Karanam, the cause of all causes. So if he's the cause of all causes, then he's the cause, the ultimate cause behind obstacles. But then he's also the ultimate cause behind removing those obstacles. So anyways, let's get into it. Now, let's start to actually understand why Krishna does this. And I would like to preface what I'm about to say by referring to Canto 1, where Bhishma Dev, when he's lying on the bed of arrows, Yudhishthira Maharaj has come to him and has asked him, Bhishma Dev Yudhishthira Maharaj is asking him for advice, and Bhishma Dev gives a very elaborate explanation. The one thing that Bhishma Dev says is that, he refers to the Pandavas that you're all pious, you are all religious. Arjuna is a pure devotee of the Lord. We know, they're all very pakka devotees of Krishna. Krishna really loves them. But then Krishna still places them in a lot of difficulties. And so Bhishma Dev says that one cannot understand the supreme will of Krishna. It's inconceivable. So I'll preface what I'm about to say with that it's inconceivable. The reason why Krishna does something, we absolutely do not know. But I'll present one reason. There might be multiple reasons why Krishna does place obstacle or doesn't place obstacles in someone's life. But I like to uncover one reason why he may place obstacles in her life. And that the reason, the understanding comes from this verse that Abhinav Prabhu recited so nicely. Tattenu kampam susamekshamano bhunjana evatma kritam vipakam. The exact translation of this verse, it's a really, really nice verse from Canto 10. Whoever, I know we're in Canto 8, when we get to Canto 10, make sure this is, if I can please request the organizers that whoever is speaking at that time, make sure they use this verse. It's a really nice verse. The translation is, my dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him. Yeah, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds and offering you respectful obeisances with his heart, words, and body is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim. Amazing verse. But the part I want to emphasize is patiently suffering the reaction of his past misdeeds. So one of the reasons why Krishna, so based on this, you can guess what I'm about to say next. One of the reasons why Krishna may place obstacles in our life is to help us get rid of the reactions of our past sinful activities. And to explain this, there are theological understandings in the world that paint God as, someone who delivers punishment. But the Vedic understanding, the Gaudiya Vaishnava understanding of the Lord is a lot more compassionate. Is that instead of someone who delivers punishment, it's someone who actually helps us become the best version of ourselves. And I would like to help you understand this, or help us understand this principle. So in Canto 3, there is a chapter called the description of the kingdom of God. In that, one of the things that is uncovered there, and this is the description of Vaikuntha, and one of the things that is uncovered there is how in Vaikuntha everything is beautiful. Vaikuntha is ruled by opulence. So opulence in terms of wealth, riches, beauty, gold, and opulence in terms of the residents of Vaikuntha as well. It is described that the residents of Vaikuntha are extremely, extremely beautiful, very physically attractive. And then the other thing is that both men and women, they're mixing freely. You know, as soon as I read that, I was like, hold up. This is a little Haribol, you know. So like this, it's described. But then the third line is that despite these mixing, the residents of Vaikuntha are not perturbed, are not influenced by the mode of passion, because they're always engrossed in serving and reciting the glories of the Lord. Their minds are always absorbed in the Lord, right? So when I was reading this, I was just thinking, what if the people in this world were to go to Vaikuntha? Let's imagine that, yeah? With our conditionings, and how easily we are influenced by the mode of passion, if we were to go to Vaikuntha and a beautiful woman or man came to us, we will get, we'll have butterflies in our stomach, right? And that will disrupt the mood of Vaikuntha. We all have experienced this, where we've organized, I'm looking at the devotees I serve with on Thursdays, where we've organized program, and we have worked so hard to cultivate a proper mood, but then you have someone who comes and disrupts that mood. Yeah, it's just, but I'm sure we have all organized that there's a mood that we have tried to cultivate, and someone comes and disrupts that. What do? We try to coax and do some damage control to make sure that mood is not disturbed, right? Sometimes then we say that maybe if you can just change the way you're presenting yourself or this and that, just to help us maintain that mood. So similarly, in Vaikuntha, in order to gain entrance to Vaikuntha, one of the requirements is that the lust from our heart, this mode of passion, we rise above it, so that we do not disrupt the mood. Now, one of the ways we can do that is, of course, through challenges and obstacles in our current state, so that we can actively rise above that obstacle. So in this way, once we rise above that obstacle, then we are qualified to be in the presence of all these, beautiful Vaikuntha people, Vaikuntha, you can say these Vishnu Dutas, and we don't disrupt the mood because we are not under the influence of passion. I know I painted a picture, but the basic principle is, in order to gain entry into the association of the Lord, there are certain things that we need to rise above. It's like a prerequisite we need to do in order to gain entry into that. Now, the way the Lord can do that is by placing obstacles in our life that help us actually elevate and purify us from that, you can say, shortcoming, so we can rise above it. So that is one reason, right? I sort of went about it in a roundabout way, but the whole point is, one of the reasons why Krishna places obstacles in our life is so that we can get purified, so that we can actually enter into an environment where we can be in a very loving relationship with him and with other devotees. That is free of envy, lust, pride, greed, so on and so forth. So that is one reason why Krishna may place obstacles in our life. But this question is, thank you so much, Prabhu. This is really great for people who are still, working through and trying to become pure devotees, or they're still on their journey of, devotional service of Krishna consciousness. But Krishna also places obstacles in the lives of pure devotees. So why is that? It's a rhetorical question. Sorry.
The question is what you explained.
Yeah. Is it okay if I come back to that at the end? Yeah. So Krishna also places obstacles in the lives of the pure devotees, For example, we know that Srila Prabhupada, he faced so many obstacles. There was one time when Srila Prabhupada was distributing his Back to Godhead magazines. And as he's distributing them, it was a hot day from what I remember reading, and he met with a bull or something knocked him, and he lay unconscious for some time. Srila Prabhupada was a pure devotee. He was doing writing the articles, printing the books, and then going and distribute. He was a one-man army. He was doing all of this. One may ask why Krishna placed such an obstacle in his life. When he was coming on the Jaladuta, he experienced 2 heart attacks. And then when he landed in the US, when he moved into the Bowery, so many obstacles. These descriptions where in order to get to his apartment, Srila Prabhupada has to, step over all these people, these drug addicts who are passed out. Prabhupada doesn't know if they're still breathing, or if they're dead. Of course, his obstacle, he seamlessly traversed all those obstacles, and because of him, we have the wonderful organization that we do now. But Srila Prabhupada, you think about it, why did Krishna place so many obstacles in his life? And actually, I went and I just looked at Canto 1 of the Bhagavatam, and the most interesting aspect about the Bhagavatam is no devotee in the Bhagavatam, no main character devotee in the Bhagavatam is having a good time. Saunaka rishis, represented by the sages of Naimisharanya, are in anxiety because they see the effects of Kali Yuga coming. So they approach Sutta Goswami. The next story that we see is between Vyasadeva and Narad. Vyasadeva wants to write the Bhagavatam, but he's also not having a good time because he's like, I've written all these Vedic scriptures and I still feel incomplete. Then another story is Draupadi. Her sons get killed. They get brutally murdered at night. Then Ashwatthama launches the Brahmastra onto Uttara's womb towards Maharaj Parikshit. Then Bhishma Dev is on a bed of every devotee, and this is just Canto 1. I'm just taking the highlights, right? So every devotee is placed on, there's so many obstacles that come into a devotee's life. So why does Krishna do this? And for, again, multiple reasons, thousands, in unlimited number of reasons. But the one reason that really resonated with me was that Krishna does this so that the devotees, they can set an examples for the rest of us when we meet obstacles. When Shaunaka Rishi and the sages of Naimisharanya, as you all must have read in these Bhagavatam classes, when they're faced with all this anxiety, what do? They actually approach Sutta Goswami for further knowledge, for further clarification on how to, transverse this. So they're practicing Shravanam. When when Ashwatthama launches the Brahmastra towards her womb to kill Maharaj Parikshit, what does Uttara do? Uttara starts praying to the Lord for protection, Vandanam. Again, when we see Parikshit Maharaj himself, when he is cursed by Shringi, by the son of Shamik Rishi, what does he do? He again approaches Sukadev Goswami to ask for clarification. So he's also practicing Shravanam. When Prahlad Maharaj is suffering and Hiranyakashipu is throwing him in so many different situations, what does he do? He practices Smaranam. Right? So all of these characters, one of the reasons that resonated with me really, of why Krishna places all these exalted devotees in such difficult situations, why he puts obstacles in their life, is because through them, he's teaching us how to transverse those obstacles in our life. Those devotees set an example for us on how we can overcome those obstacles, right? And in this way, what does he do? He's actually enhancing the glories of those devotees. Now, the one thing I want to say, and in conclusion, is that you may think that, oh, like this obstacle has come, or we may think that this obstacle has come into my life. Okay, like, I can just like, I'll try to work through it, or you may not have the motivation, or how do you say? Because working through an obstacle in the right frame of mind is an austerity for those who've experienced it, right? What's the easiest path when we are hit with a reversal? The easiest path is the most removed from piety and religiosity. But in order to go through an obstacle in the right frame of mind, one mindset that we can keep is that first, that is an opportunity for us to actually deepen our sadhana bhakti. As I mentioned, each of those examples that I mentioned, they're practicing or deepening each anga of devotional service. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, then Atma Nivedanam, right? If you actually look at the Srimad Bhagavatam and you see the devotees and how they're transversing their obstacles, you will see each of these actually becoming more clear. So when we are hit with the obstacles, one of the ways that we can sort of deal with them is really focus on deepening each or any particular anga of devotional service, any particular path of devotional service. And what that will do is it will not only help you overcome the obstacle, but you have to think, especially if you're living in an ashram, you are the support system of people around you, and the people around you are your support system. So when you go about the obstacle in the right way, then you set an example for everyone else around you, and you give them inspiration. And in turn, what happens is when you're going through a rough time and the people around you go about it in the right way, then you get inspiration as well. So please keep that in mind as you move forward. But I do want to conclude here. So the talk really focused on 3 points today. The first point, now this is where you can sort of zoom in and I'll finish the entire talk in about 3 minutes. So the first point is that Krishna is the source he removes obstacles in our lives, yes, but he can also place obstacles in our life. Why does he place obstacle in our life? One reason is to purify us, to help us actually give us an opportunity to overcome our shortcomings. And the example we gave is that for example, by overcoming lust, we can actually gain entrance into Vaikuntha. And by overcoming our shortcomings, we can actually gain entrance or enhance our relationship with Krishna. And the third point is that why does he play? So that is. The second point is why he places obstacles in the lives of aspiring devotees or sadhakas. But why does he place obstacles in the lives of pure devotees? And so the reason for that is because he gives us an example to follow. The pure devotees, they transverse the obstacles in a very deep spiritual way. And so when we take their example, when we understand how they're transversing obstacles, it gives us inspiration, it gives us direction, it gives us instruction to be able to transverse those obstacles ourselves. That is all. Yeah, that's all I had to say for today. Those were the 3 points that I made. And any question? I know, Prabhu, you had a question. Any questions, comments? Maharaj, anything else you would like to add? Anubhava Prabhu, anything else you would like to add, please?
The class was wonderful. Thank you very much. I love it very much and I enjoyed it very much. And just to make, just perhaps, not only that.
Okay.
Like Prabhupada, myself also in my life, I had some difficulty. I'll be very frank with you, and in some situation, all the way to almost a depression. Okay, but what helped me in that situation, it's like the last movie of Yadubar. Prabhupada is like talking about the difficulty he had in the beginning. And in one point, when he's talking, he says, I was so depressed. Prabhupada's mentioning it like that. But he says it with a very low voice, like just to make you understand that he went through that situation too. Because at the beginning, he had so much difficulty doing so much tests. But you were right. It teach us a lot of how to persevere in Krishna consciousness in our devotional service also. Yeah, that was great. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much. I like the point about devotees having a tough time. I mean, everyone really does. It's not just like a bowl of roses or eating cherries all the time. These difficulties make us strong. We should strive for that. That's why we do the polar bear chapel walk in the morning. Or devotees are encouraged to take a cool shower, in the morning, instead of lathering forever. Just at least rinse with a develop toughness. That's what I'm saying. That's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
The pronunciation is tortoise.
Tortoise. No, tortoise.
It's not tortoise.
Tortoise.
Some of you were saying tortoise. It's tortoise.
Tortoise. Tortoise.
Like Toronto.
Just like Toronto.
Tortoise. Just to say it right. Speaking publicly.
One thing I just remembered. So this must have been 2018, something like that. I was studying in Edmonton, Alberta, and Bhakti Marg Maharaj had come. And in the evening, we were going, if you've been to the Edmonton temple, there's you can go for a walk on the street, on the tarmac out there. And I remember we were walking, we were just coming up to the temple on the tarmac. And I remember asking Maharaj, in the course of devotional life, there are so many difficulties. How do you keep going? And he said, and he just looked around, he's like, we're walking on this road. There are all these potholes, but we keep on walking. And since then, Maharaj, it has really stayed with me. So thank you.
So it's good to go to a road where there's potholes.
We just keep walking, right? Anyways. Yes, Prabhu, you had a question?
Prabhu, you mentioned Krishna is the cause of all the problems, all the hindrances and obstacles in our lives. At the same time, Krishna mentions that he doesn't enter in our free will.
Yes.
Our free will is done by us, the acts that we do. He doesn't interfere in that, but the results of that free will, in the results, he interferes. So, are we not responsible for the hindrances? Or how can we blame him? In Mahabharata, he mentioned that when he went with the peace agreement and they tried to kidnap him and Dhritarashtra wasn't willing to understand anything. Vyasdev was there, I guess Vishwamitra was also there, Narad Muni was also there. Everybody was trying to make him understand, but it was him. He was the cause. Dhritarashtra was the cause of the battle as well. And here we mentioned that Krishna was the cause of the battle. So somewhere,
there's some confusion.
It's very difficult to differentiate between our result of our actions or Krishna's that mercy or benediction in the form of hindrances.
Yeah, I would love to hear Maharaj's and Prabhu's thoughts on this, but I can tell from what I understand is, so for any action for it to sort of move forward, for it to actually manifest, you need a few elements. So one is your desire or effort. The other is like the material energy, it mixes that. If you want to do an activity in this world, you need, like you can't transcend the laws of physics, right? So you need some input from the material energy. But then who sanctions it all? Krishna is the one who sanctions it. So you can have desire. He's not going to interfere in your free will. So if you want to do something, sure. But at the end of the day, he still has to sanction it. In Prahlad Maharaj says that a blade of grass does not even move without the sanction of the Supreme Will. So yes, you have desire, but Krishna still has to sanction it. So that's what we mean. So in a sense, like the war, Duryodhana wanted, that was his desire, he wanted the war. But nothing can move without Krishna's will anyway. That is but I would please, Maharaj Prabhu.
No, it's getting a little late, so it's okay. You did a good job.
Okay, sorry. We can maybe chat about this more, but yeah, sorry about that.
I'd just like to stick with it.
Yeah, okay.
The answer was good.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Okay, thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Good job.
Thank you so much. Oh, yeah. Sorry, so basically,